Thank you, Dr. Kudumo, to your research. I'm not surprised to see girls to perform or to overperform the boys for a very simple reason. For many years, we are talking about to empower girls and women, but the word empower, I think, is wrong. Girls, women, they use it in a proper way. So you will realize that, and that's what I observed, men, we have one channel of thinking, and ladies, they have multiple. So while we are thinking in one thing, then we are very fast. So when you give them the opportunity, definitively you will not copy. And we have seen one country that is really implementing that. I think in Rwanda, you know Rwanda, men can't compare with women, and they have given. Yeah. Thank you very much. So, since Monday we are talking about transforming education. Yesterday we had very interesting presentations about this global new thinking on how to enhance education. Today I'm going to focus more on the pedagogy, the curriculum. I will not talk about devices, infrastructures. These were discussed well during the preview. So we are going to see how really well-designed curriculum, digital learning in terms of the actual work behind the scenes the teachers are doing in order to make sure learning is taking place. So I will quickly talk about those 4 points that we have on the screen, but the titles won't look like what are there, so you will be able to realize that what I will be presenting will reflect on those 4 points. Yes, we are saying this, and this is universal. We should not tell children what to think about. Because the danger of that, if we don't tell what to think about, they will not think at all. But we need to train them on how to think. So this is very important. Another thing is we should avoid to focus our learning facilitation on facts. We should really help students to understand the truth behind the facts and on how to utilize that to enhance their lives. But I like the last one. The last one help us to empower ourselves. Do what you can with what you have and where you are. So since Monday we are talking about challenges, we are not getting A, we are not getting B, the ministry is not doing A, is not doing B. But what we are not looking at is what we have currently and how we can use that one. Forget what you don't have. So when it comes to empowerment, and this is a message to teachers, no one will empower you as a teacher, you empower yourself. But you need the tools, you need the opportunities that you need to use in order to empower yourself. So I will talk about that at the later stage. So here we are talking about the systemic framework of transforming education. Sometimes we are saying education transformation. Okay? So we have few elements that I'm going just to touch quickly. Increased competitiveness. We are in the 21st century, so we need really to align ourselves, our thinking, our doing in the era where we are. Because when we do things in a period that is over, definitively we will not make it. Employment is an issue. We know this is really something that in all cycles, political cycles, all over the world, employment is really an issue. So how can we transform education to ensure that employment is really secured for our future professionals that's still in schools? Another one is economic development. So these are very complex processes that cannot just start in a very short period. It prepares students to be more involved in economic development, employment, while they are in higher education. It's too late when you wait there. So we'll talk quickly about that. And another thing very important is the citizenship, social cohesion, global citizenship. There are some discussions in higher education saying that students are graduating, but they are not getting jobs. But what is happening? You can be in Namibia and you get a job in UK, and you are not welcome to go in UK. You remain in Namibia. So that's what is happening, and we need really to pay attention on that. So quickly, transformation education, we have some models, and this is what also Namibia need to do. In the context of Namibia, we need to come up with our own model. So, of course, we need policies, we need frameworks, we need guidelines that are showing how this education can be transformed. Digital curriculum, I will spend a few minutes about the curriculum because it's the heart of education, is something that we need to pay really attention on it. Continuous professional development, remember what I started with, teachers should empower themselves, but what we do, we give them the opportunities for that. Digital transformation in education is very important. While we acknowledge that technology is a tool that provides more opportunities in order to do better in education, we need to come up with something that can help us to build around that. Research and development is very important. We need to research if we have issues. We have a long list of concerns during the consultation for the transforming education, and we need really to find out why these things are there and especially how we can solve that. So we are saying that the transforming education takes some future orientation in reimagining education, and we have 4 areas that form the nature of human beings. The first one is collaboration. Collaboration is very important, and we need to build around this in order to achieve our transforming in our schools. We have communication is very important. You remember even in the Bible, when people decided to start building to reach where God is, what happened? God made sure that people cannot communicate anymore, and the project collapsed definitively. So communication is very important. Critical reflection. So this is what education is all about, is to teach students, to support students to develop their critical thinking, creative thinking, innovative thinking, and the last one is the creativity. You are in an environment with challenges, you need now to think how to come up with solutions. So something that we need to pay attention on, and this is very important, is the issue of change. Transforming education is 100% an issue of change. And you know, human beings, we don't like to change. For a very simple reason, that is human nature. We form our, what we call comfort zone. I'm sure in this room, you are sitting on the same seat since Monday. I will not go to ask how many are sitting in the same place. I can only ask how many people have changed the seat. They are sitting. Okay, good. Yeah. So we are very comfortable. Sometimes in a conference, you sit in a seat and you see somebody coming and they look at you and the person feels offended. I was sitting here yesterday. And now you are taking my place. So we need really to recognize that. And that happens in the human brains, and this is very important. If somebody resists, it's not because that person is challenging you. It's because what you are saying is not yet wired in the brain of that person. There is no experience of what you are talking in the brain of that person. So naturally, without the person knowing, we reject what you are saying. So something to do today, I will show you a little bit, but now that I will tell you, you will be able to realize that you are busy resisting. So you can see you start with fear, anger, resistance, and acceptance, because you reach a point where at work, your supervisor tells you now at this point there is no other options. We have to go that way. Okay? So you start now accepting, and you start being open and testing and relating, integration, and so on. So this is very important. And one of the recommendations we are going to say, we need to come up with change management policy or framework in education. Sometimes we say teachers are not really want to, or they don't want to follow the new way of doing things. They are resisting, but it's because the way we communicate maybe doesn't help them to accept that. So there were already some presentation about what are we trying to transform. I know UNICEF spoke about that, but what I want to say on this is one specific thing: we need to change the way we prepare our students. Because if we keep doing the same thing over and over, definitively we get the same result we got in the past. Okay? And another thing very important in education, and to be able to achieve the transformation of education, we need to recognize the cognitive and non-cognitive skills. Sometimes we focus more on cognitive skills, hard skills that we are getting from subjects. But we forget that we have those soft skills that are very important to make us very successful in our life. Another thing is the way the brain works. So here is a very complicated area that only psychologists they know how to do research on that. But we don't need to do those research. We can use the result of the research. So we have a way we can engage students, and we know what will be the results of doing that. And that will get really a wonderful result on our teaching and our processes. And the last one that I would like really to caution all of us: technology doesn't drive transformation. The transformation is driven by human beings. But the technology or technologies are enablers and accelerators, can make things going quick. So you realize in many parts of the world they are saying they invested millions, billions of dollars in technology, but they don't see change in the education. They are right. The change will not come because you have technology. Technology can't drive the change, but human do. Curriculum. I've seen in my experience, I have 27 years of experience, but in the room I have people with more than 40 that I've seen today, this morning. I learned something. There is a misconception of curriculum. When we talk about curriculum, people will see that document, that beautiful, colorful document that actually yet is in charge to develop. They consider that the curriculum. But that is one component of the curriculum. We have three main dimensions of curriculum that form the curriculum. So when we say that the curriculum is not well adapted, is not really supporting what the country is trying to achieve, don't feel offended. We have three dimensions. The first one is the intended curriculum. So that is the political one, where we put all the wishes, where we call different experts to talk about, and we also look at what other countries have done to make it better. That's document. And this is what makes people to criticize that there is a problem of the curriculum, is the implemented curriculum. And this is developed not by the Minister of Education, or yet, this is developed by schools, by the teacher. Because I have a document that gives me all the guidance. Now, how am I going to implement what is in there? So I have to come up with a strategy in order to be able to implement. And the last one, very important, attend. This is students. If your student fail, is the curriculum. It's true. Because there is a problem. Why you didn't see things coming your way that will make your student fail. So let us not to feel offended if somebody tells us that, you know, your curriculum has issues. We need to remember that curriculum is a broader term. It's not one thing. And this will really help us to move quickly. And we have to ensure that whatever we want to implement in the transforming education process, paradigm, that thing has to be very well captured in the curriculum. Because what is not in the curriculum, teachers won't implement it. It's not there. Okay? Something very important. Now I'm going to take you outside the box, probably something that you are not used to. And that will create some kind of resistance. But pay attention on what I'm going to say. COVID taught us one big lesson, that the traditional way of facilitating learning or running a business for education is really not effective anymore in the world we are in today. If somebody asks you if tomorrow His Excellency, the President, tell us that schools are closed, no moving, no going nowhere, are our kids really going to learn? So I don't wait for an answer. Let us think. Did we really capture the benefits, the achievements that we managed to develop, to come across during the pandemic period, to ensure that everything were documented? If suddenly something else come our way, we'll be able immediately to click the button and life continue. So what we have seen with the pandemic, our learners lost a lot of time, and that time will never be recovered, believe me. When you spend 3 months, 4, 5 months, a year without learning, and if our learners have to go to the next level, the next academic year, so definitively we understand that there is a huge gap somewhere. That's why we need to come up with a condensed curriculum. So the condensed curriculum is no different from the intended one. But the condensed curriculum is to pick those important things that a student needs to develop in order to close the gap, in order for the students to progress. So this is something that we'll discuss, not today, but we'll continue the discussion and we'll talk about it. Invention curriculum, we are talking about the future workplace or the future work that are more influenced by the event. We are in the fourth industrial revolution. Some of us, when we talk to the educators, they don't want to listen to what you are saying because you make them scared. So we are already in an era that really should make us to start thinking completely different. So we need really to develop that capacity. So invention curriculum is something that helps kids while they are at secondary school to think about issues that are around them and start thinking on how to solve those problems, to come up with a product. So what we do in such a situation, in science, another one in economics or this commercial subject, here I'm talking about secondary, not higher education. Others who are doing arts, they can come together, they can think, and they can come up with a product. So this is something very interesting. Artificial intelligence. Up to now, some educators, they still not believe in this. They are saying this is for those countries that are developed. But when you look around, artificial intelligence, which is the driven force of the fourth industrial revolution, is making a lot of changes in the employment. You know, in the bank systems, some positions, some kind of functions will just disappear because the machine can do it effectively and quickly and without mistakes. So this is the same everywhere. So I summarize this in this page. I'm not going to read what is there, is what I said, but all of you will get this presentation. So, but something I would like to say, artificial intelligence curriculum for kids. I discussed that with colleagues. They are saying, no, our students at universities are struggling. How can you come with this stupid idea of artificial intelligence for kids? But what we forget, we start preparing kids at the foundation level. So we have a curriculum for kids where they can even start coding. Why? Because kids are very smarter than adults. Why? Because they have the curiosity that's still very strong and so on. Now, something very important I'd like to talk about. We are in a process that is really very important. We need to come up with a strategy, a digital education strategy. At African Union, I was invited to work on this. And African Union is looking for countries to use that as a blueprint to develop national digital education strategy. So this is a must if really we want to transform education. That is one thing. Another thing is we need to come up with a digital transformation for education. Something clicked in my mind yesterday. The chairperson of a session, I'm not going to say a name, told the audience, because everyone wanted to comment or to ask a question. He said, take a piece of paper, write down your question, and they give it to one of, I think it was Gerard. Do you imagine there are, I think, 1,000 of people? If 1,000 of people write on a small paper and give to Gerard, he will collapse, or he will change it. He will change even the profession. So here I'm talking about we have tools that can make us ready to do things in a very effective way. So don't worry about my session. No one will ask you to write on a paper. I prepared an electronic place where you can go and put your question. And I did that in 5 minutes. So this is digital transformation for education. This thing's not moving. Okay. So something that I'm not going really to pay too much time because I'm reminded that I have to go quick. So digitalizing transformative learning. So transformative learning is the process of supporting students when they are learning to put things in their perspective. Because if I say that if you take a student from Namibia and a student from, let's say, United States, you put them in front of a situation, they will not think the same way. Why? Because they have different experiences. So we need to do the same. When we teach our students, we have to make sure that not only we look at the what, the how, but we need to focus on the why. Because the why will have the students about that in education. Let kids ask why all the time. Okay? And something very important, I heard about the statistics, the learners, the young people who are out of school. It's really scary. And we always, when we talk about inclusive education, we always look at students with disabilities. Of course, we don't like to talk about that word. People are not handicapped or disabled, but they have some challenges. So we realize that even kids with a good mind, physically they fit, they are also not able to learn. So we are suggesting to come up to develop an inclusive pedagogy, specifically for Namibia, to try to address those issues that we have around. So this is something very important. We can't run away from this. We need to look at what learning is all about. There is a strong theory behind it. Lecturing, like what I'm doing, that I'm giving information. But if we stop there, we say people have not learned. You learn when there is a behavior change. So we are talking about objectivism, cognitivism, constructivism, and connectivism because of the technology. We need to help students to develop their own learning network so that they can improve quickly. So e-assessment is very important. I have a problem at my university where they are saying there are a lot of cheating because of technology. But I'm saying, why not to give a test? If you didn't start, you can't make it. Even you call anyone. We are talking about open book tests, scenario-based tests. And these are the kind of tests that we need to give to our students. Not to put them in a small room and there is somebody, the police, checking what they are doing. Because in the real life, there is nothing like this. When you are in your office, you are alone. No one will come to see what you are doing. Isn't it? So we need really to be very effective. And when it comes to e-assessment, I don't believe on those systems that will control the student doing things. It doesn't help anything because they will cheat anyway. Very importantly, instructional framework is very important, connecting to our transforming learning and the SDGs. We need to develop content for our children to understand what the Sustainable Development Goals are all about. Why? Because students need to develop experience in order to understand or to master what you are teaching them. So they need issues. So the 17 goals, which contain education as well, has the issues that the world is currently facing. So we need to develop this for our learners in order to get opportunities. So I'm not going to talk about this. So these are the teaching aspect modalities using technologies. So here we are talking about when we put all of these things I spoke about, we end by reinforcing digital learning, which is going to support technology. And yeah, I'm not going to talk too much on this. We are talking about, and we have to be inclusive. When we use technology, we have to make sure that in those areas where the technology is a challenge, we should really come up with modified technology to ensure that they can learn. So this is one of the ways we can do by avoiding to focus on internet-based solution because we know it's not a reality, it can't work for all. So here I have some other thoughts I'm providing, you will be able to read, to go through, but you realize that I'm saying whatever digital content we are developing, we need to come up also with an offline. Please don't do digital content that is online and forget that we have people who cannot access it. So this is what I was talking about, the Sustainable Development Goals, very important, and something very important. And I'm done. Teachers always say we have issues. The principal, the minister, or the governor, somebody should come to solve the issues. But there is nothing like that in life. When you have challenges at your work, you have to figure out how to develop skills to address this. And we need to train our teachers what we call design thinking. That we have them to find out what is not working and how to solve it, and that will make things much easier. So we have recommendations here. I'm not going to talk about the recommendations based on what I said. So the Secretariat will look at this and will advise the way forward. Thank you.